2012 election, getting all geared up. The economy is going to be a significant issue. The president spoke to the economy this week, and people were saying he sounds like he's out of touch. I want to play what he said earlier and then get your thoughts on it.
The overall trend that we've seen over the last 15 months, over 2 million jobs created over the past 15 months, a rebounding of the manufacturing sector in the United States that's exemplified by the recovery of the big three automakers here, all indicates that we have set a path that will lead us to long-term economic growth. But we've still got some enormous work to do. And as long as there are some folks out there who are unemployed looking for work, then every morning when I wake up, I'm going to be thinking about how we can get them back to work.
A lot of folks said, couldn't he have just said, I feel your pain?
You know, Roland, he's beginning to sound like George H.W. Bush in 1991, where George H.W. Bush in 91 said the economy is getting better. He did all these statistics, but no one was feeling what the president was saying. So there was a disconnect between what the American electorate were feeling. They were like, well, wait a minute. The president may be saying one thing, but I feel this. And so in
1991, President George H.W. Bush had huge approval rating numbers. A year later, he was packing.
That's
the
correct.
economy did him in.
That's correct.
President Obama sorely needs some media training. I know he doesn't think he does. You usually don't get to be president of the United States. A lot of people that are up there in those high positions think they don't need it. He needs it, because what's happening is the substance of his speeches, which are quite good, being lost in the style, or his lack of style. He delivers everything the same way. He can tell you about the Easter egg roll lunch or the lunch of Sputnik with the same tone of voice. Nothing ever changes. That has bothered me from the beginning. I want to see that he doesn't have to say, I feel your pain. He has to sound like he feels the pain.
I think Robert's right, and I think Deborah's right. I mean, this president doesn't connect in the way he did in the campaign. I don't know if he's tone deaf. I think he understands that there is a problem, but I don't think he knows how to articulate it in a way, as every one of us, I think, agrees, where he's connecting with people. There's just something. It's not Bill Clinton.
You know what I think it is? I think he's trying to be presidential. I think he's trying so hard to sound and be presidential that he forgets that you can emote some as well.
And Joe, on this issue, unemployment is at 9.1%. Okay, we've seen 14, 15 months of consecutive private sector job growth. But the problem still is, when you look at poll numbers, when nearly 50% of people think we're approaching a Great Depression. The president said in 2009, I will be judged for re-election based upon the economy. This is his Achilles heel for next year.
And he is absolutely right. He is going to get judged on that, because there aren't any other issues out there that are germane to the American people. And the problem is not that he's not doing things. He is doing things, but he does not have a clear, articulate message. You take him out of the White House, you put him on the stump, and we saw a little bit of that last year in the 2010 midterms, where he would at times sputter and sometimes get in a groove where he would talk about an economic message. But now you don't have it, especially when he's talking about it in the White House.
And in fairness to the White House, they will say there's nothing else we can do. We have an economic stimulus package. We can't control gas prices. So there's nothing that they can do. However, to Deborah's point, to everyone else's point, they can control how that message is being spun. Let me give you a prime example. Roland, you have cancer. That's what a doctor may say, as opposed to an empathetic doctor who says, Roland, I got to sit down with you. This is something that is really, 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 really life-threatening. We need to talk about your health.
And then there's style. And then there's a second prong to that, though, Roland. The African-American unemployment rate is it's over 16%.
Actually increased as well.
Right. And so what I'm saying is he's got a two-track problem. He's not only not connecting with the American people as a broad on this issue, but in the black community, which is a base that he needs to be energized about his re-election. I think he has a real challenge.
I'll give you an example that, and I want you to speak to, the auto bailout. You hear Speaker John Boehner, and his spokesman came out and said, look, that's something to be proud of. Where the president has touted saving those particular jobs. Yet, what resonates with me is a lot different when you have a kid who's going to their freshman year in college who can say, Thank God the president saved my mom and my daddy's job. That way I can go to school. And so jobs were saved in Pennsylvania, in Ohio, in Michigan, 3 critical states for re-election. And it's different to say we did the right thing at the right time, as opposed to this kid wouldn't be able to afford to go to college.
That's a message they are not delivering. That is a message that there's a disconnect there. The president is saying the right things. The tone is proper in the speeches. The empathy is not there. The examples that you just cited aren't necessarily there.
I mean, last week, Trade Ambassador Ron Kirk was on this show, and we talked about, because we hear trade, you go, I don't know really what that's all about, but he talked about a minority company in Detroit where they said, hey, we can do these jobs cheaper here. He identified American company, minority here, here's what they did, how we help them. I'm always looking for the White House to provide more concrete, clear example of people who we can touch, we can hear.
This is the political equivalent of bougie. Okay, that's what he is.
So you're calling elitist or too high level bougie?
Bougie.
But Deborah, it's a larger issue than that. I guess to go to your point, I wouldn't say go that far, but it's a larger point about this is almost deja vu all over again, because we had the same conversation, Roland, on this show at this table about health care. The president, for whatever reason, does not put a human face to real life issues. I remember very vividly having a conversation with a lot of folks saying, why doesn't the president talk about health care in real terms about his mother and about dying of cancer and so forth? And the reason why is because, as we know, this president, for lack of a better term, is a professor, looks at things from an academic.
And I'll be honest, senior White House officials even said, Roland's not going to do it. I mean, he's not going to do it.
He's not but he's not in some ways, he's like George W. Bush in this way. He's not an actor. He doesn't listen to the talking points. He doesn't look at the polls. He believes his job is there to solve people's problems. And at the end of the day, people will judge him on that. And quite frankly, come November 2012, people will judge him on that.